Welcome students to Krishna classes. Today we are going to study about federalism. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. There are two levels of government. Government for the entire country, that is responsible for national issues, and governments at the state level take care of the everyday concerns. Both these governments enjoy their power independent of the other. As we can see, federalism, two levels of government, government for the entire country, government at the state level. There are two or more levels or tiers of government. Each tier of government has its own jurisdiction in matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. The existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. The fundamental provisions of the Constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise between different levels of government in the exercise of their respective powers. Sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. An ideal federal system has two aspects: mutual trust and agreement to live together. In contrast to the federal government, under the unitary system, either there is only one level of government or the subunits are subordinate to the central government. The central government can pass an order to the provincial or the local government. What are the differences between unitary and federal forms of government? Let's understand through this table. The best example of a unitary government is Britain, whereas the best example of a federal constitution is USA. In unitary government, there is one level of government. In federal, there are two levels of government, as we have already seen. The central government is more powerful than the subordinate units. The two levels of government are equally powerful in a federal form of government. The central government is answerable to the people. Both governments are equally responsible and answerable to the people. Central government takes all the decisions in a unitary government. In a federal government, central government looks after issues of national interest. The state government looks after issues of the state. In a unitary government, it has an unwritten and a flexible constitution, whereas in a federal government, there is a rigid and written constitution. Federal system has two objectives. 1. Safeguard and promote unity of the country. 2. Accommodate regional diversity. An ideal federal system has two aspects. 1. Mutual trust. 2. Agreement to live together. Kinds of federations. There are two kinds of federations. Number 1. Coming together federation. When independent states come together to form a bigger union, they enhance their security by pooling their sovereignty and retaining their identity. The states and center have equal powers. This kind of a federation is existing at present in USA, Australia, and Switzerland. So, coming together federation means independent states come together, form a bigger union, thus they enhance their security by pooling their sovereignty and yet retaining their identity. Holding together federation, a large country decides to divide its power between the states and the central government. The central government is always more powerful than the regional states. Some units have special powers. Different constituent units have unequal powers. Example: India, Spain, Belgium. All the 7 features of federalism apply to the provisions of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution originally provided for a two-tier system of government, the union government and the state governments. Later, a third tier was added in the form of panchayats and municipalities. The constitution clearly distributes legislative powers between the union government and the state governments. Thus, it contains three lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. Now let's see how the legislative power has been distributed between the union and state governments. In union list, there are 97 subjects. Example, foreign policy, only the union government can pass a law. State list, 66 subjects. Example is police, only the state governments can pass a law. Concurrent list, 47 subjects. Example is education. Both the union and state governments can pass a law. In case of a conflict, the union government's law will prevail. Residuary powers are with the union government. Example is cyber law. Only the union government passes laws on these residual powers. Distribution of powers on the basis of three lists. Union list includes subjects such as defense, foreign affairs, banking, communications and currency. The union government alone can make laws on subjects mentioned in the union list. State list includes subjects such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation. The state governments alone can make laws on subjects mentioned in the state list. Concurrent list includes subjects of common interest to both the union government as well as the state governments, such as education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption and succession. The union as well as the state governments can make laws on subjects in this list. In case of conflict, the law made by the union government shall have primacy over the state law. The union government has the power to make laws for the subjects that are not included in any of the three lists. These are termed as residuary subjects. The role of judiciary. In case of any dispute between the center and the states regarding the division of powers, the High Courts and the Supreme Court have the right of adjudication. Special powers of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir enjoys special powers in the Indian Federation. It has its own constitution. 2. Many provisions of the Indian Constitution are not applicable to this state without the approval of the State Assembly. 3. Indians who are not permanent residents of this state cannot buy land or house here. Some very small units called union territories do not enjoy many powers. They are too small to become independent states. Union government has the power to run them. The powers of the center and the states are so well defined by the Indian Constitution that it is not easy to change them. Any change has to be passed by both houses of parliament with at least 2/3 majority and ratified by the legislatures of at least half of the total states. The judiciary has the power to oversee the implementation of the Constitution. In case of dispute, the High Courts and Supreme Court make decisions. Earlier we had seen that Kejriwal government and central government were having some issues and they both had gone to Supreme Court to resolve those issues, and Supreme Court favored the central government regarding most of the points raised by the state government. Unlike a true federal country like USA, India cannot be called truly federal because there is: number 1, no dual citizenship; 2, every citizen votes as an Indian; 3, center is more powerful than the states; 4th, all the states in India do not have identical powers; 5th, some states enjoy a special status. For example, Jammu and Kashmir has its own constitution. 6th, In the case of emergencies, the Constitution provides the central government with extensive powers to interfere in the matters of state. Though the Constitution is federal in character and form, it is unitary in its spirit. That is why it is called quasi-federal in nature. Let's see how federalism is practiced in India. Constitutional provisions are not enough for the success of federalism. The success of federalism in India can be attributed to the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity, and a shared desire to live together. So, we must remember that federalism has succeeded in India due to the spirit of federalism, second, respect for diversity, and third, a shared desire to live together. The factors facilitating the success of federalism are: number 1, creation of linguistic states. Between 1947 and 2006, many new states were created and old ones vanished. Creation of new states was done on the basis of culture, ethnicity or geography. Example, Nagaland, Uttarakhand, etc. Basis of language. For example, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, etc. If India has succeeded as a federal state, the credit must also go to the language policy. Our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi is of course the national language, but it is spoken by only 40% of the population. There are 21 other languages called scheduled languages. Candidates can take an exam conducted for central government positions in any of these languages. States have their own official languages. The government works take place in the official language of the state. English was supposed to cease as an official language in 1965, but due to agitations in many states, English was allowed to continue for official purpose along with Hindi. Central government promotes Hindi but cannot impose it on any state. India has succeeded as a federal country due to center-state relations too. Center-state relations have been restructured to strengthen federalism. Before 1990, same party ruled the center and most of the states. After 1990, rise of the regional parties happened and era of coalition governments at the center began. State governments could not exercise their rights as autonomous units before 1990, but after 1990, state governments could exercise their rights as many were a part of the coalition in the center. Central governments often dismissed state governments controlled by rival parties. After 1990, this was no longer possible in the era of coalitions. The Supreme Court also supported the state governments. Decentralization is very important for a democracy. Let's see how decentralization functions in India. India has a three-tier system of government: union, state and local government. The three-tier system was adopted because India is a very big country and thus it was difficult for union and state governments to manage big provinces and huge and diverse population. Therefore, a need for power sharing was felt within the states, hence India adopted decentralization. What is the meaning of decentralization? Decentralization means that power is taken away from center and state governments and given to local government. What were the reasons for decentralization? 1. Local problems and issues are best settled at the local level. 2. Local people have better knowledge of local problems. They have better ideas of where to spend the money and prioritize their problems better. Fourth, people can directly participate in decision making and thus it inculcates a habit of democratic participation. Fifth, people can approach a local government for solving their problems easily and quickly. The cost is also reduced to a minimum. Sixth, local governments at grassroots level ensure stability, strength, and a healthy democracy. Rural local government is known as Panchayati Raj. Each village or a group of villages in some states has a Gram Panchayat which has several ward members called Panch and a president or Sarpanch. They are directly elected by all the adult population living in that ward or village. It is the decision making body for the entire village. The Panchayat works under the overall supervision of the Gram Sabha. All the voters are its members. It has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Gram Panchayat and to review its performance. A few Gram Panchayats together form a Panchayat Samiti or block or mandal. The members of Panchayat Samiti are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. All the Panchayat Samitis and mandals in a district together form the Jila Parishad. Most of the Jila Parishad members are elected. Members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of that district are also its members. Local bodies that exist for urban areas are known as municipalities. Municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality. Big cities are constituted into municipal corporations. In a municipal corporation, such an officer is called the mayor. Now let's understand the panchayat system through this table. At village level, there is Gram Panchayat, which is formed by Gram Sabha and it is headed by the Sarpanch. At block level, there is Panchayat Samiti, elected by Panchayat members, and its head is BDO or Block Development Officer. At district level, there is Jila Parishad, which is formed by elected members, and MP MLAs are its members too, and its head is Jila Chairperson. Forms of local government. In rural areas, Jila Parishad, Gram Samitis, Gram Panchayats. In urban areas, municipal corporations and municipal councils. Before 1992, the local bodies were under the state governments. Regular elections were not held and the local bodies did not have their own power of resources. But the amendment which happened in 1992 made the three-tier system more powerful and effective. The 73rd amendment concerned the rural local governments and 74th concerned the urban local governments. There were certain steps taken in 1992 towards decentralization. It became mandatory to hold elections to the local government bodies regularly. Reservation of seats for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward castes. 1/3 of seats were reserved for women. State Election Commission was created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections, and state governments were to share some power and revenue with local government bodies. Let's again see what are the rural local bodies. Gram Panchayat, it is found in each village or a group of villages. It consists of several ward members and a president or sarpanch. It is directly elected by all the adult population of the ward for 5 years. It is thus the decision-making body. It functions under a Gram Sabha, a general body with all the villagers as its members. Gram Sabha meets 2-3 times in a year to approve the work of the Panchayat and approve of the budget. Panchayat Samiti is at the block or mandal level. A few Gram Panchayats are grouped together and its members are elected by all the Panchayats of the area. All the Panchayat Samitis or mandals in a district constitute Jila Parishad, whose members are elected. Members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of that district and some other officials of other district level bodies are also its members. Jila Parishad chairperson is the political head of the Jila Parishad. Urban local bodies are Municipal corporations and municipalities, as we have already seen, members are elected. Head of the municipality is the chairperson. Head of the corporation is a mayor. So what are the benefits of local self-governance? Local self-government has helped to deepen democracy and increased women's representation. Yes, certain problems remain, such as elections are not held regularly and state governments have not given them significant power and resources. But the benefits are more. For example, local people have better ideas of where to spend the money and prioritize their problems better. People can directly participate in decision making, and so it inculcates a habit of democratic participation. People can approach a local government for solving their problems easily and quickly, so the cost is also reduced to a minimum. Local governments at grassroots level ensure stability, strength, and a healthy democracy. Thank you, students, for watching. Please do like, comment, and share. I hope you would also subscribe. If you have any further queries or need any help regarding this chapter, please WhatsApp on 99680 65765.